When Enterprises was on the verge of bankruptcy, I begged William to inject capital, which gave his family a lifeline. In return, Marcus was forced to marry me. After we married, he never showed me any kindness. And when William's investment failed, he colluded with others to severely damage my family's company. He embraced his new lover, his face full of scorn and disdain. Every day since marrying you has been utterly sickening. If it weren't for my family, how could I possibly marry a venomous woman like you? What's more, when I was away, he took my family heirloom emerald bangle and gave it to his mistress. But the upstart Marcus didn't know that the so-called investment failure was nothing more than a test from William, from beginning to end. Miss, the emerald bangle your father left you was taken by the son-in-law and given to that vixen Amber. I had just returned from a business trip when I heard the housekeeper indignantly complain to me. This bangle was dating back to the civil era, and Marcus knew how much I treasured it, yet he gave it to his mistress to wear. Without resting, I immediately floored the accelerator and drove to Amber's building. After failing to enter the password, I contacted the building manager directly and forced entry. Marcus and Amber were having an intimate act on the balcony, their wanton cries making the building manager blush. When saw our whole entourage, she shrieked in fright, and Marcus quickly pulled on his pants. Who let you into my home? Do you know you're trespassing? I scoffed. Home? Where does Marcus's name appear on this house? When Enterprises went bankrupt, they sold everything they could. If my family hadn't stepped in, Hayes wouldn't have even been able to keep their ancestral home dating back generations. Amber, now fully dressed, told me, possession is 9/10 of the law. Since I'm the current resident, you're trespassing and should be taken to the police station. Amber's audacity made me laugh to ease. Evicting. So, by your logic, if you just randomly open a tomb and lie down inside, you become the owner, and the offerings brought by the deceased's family on holidays and special occasions should go to you first? Hearing me speak of his darling that way, Marcus immediately became upset. Shut up, you crazy hag. What are you doing at my house? You're not still trying to win me back, are you? Grace, let me tell you, keep dreaming. I'd sooner go back to a cell than ever have anything to do with you again. I told Marcus, don't flatter yourself. Where's my bangle? At the mention of the bangle, a flicker of guilt crossed Marcus's face, but he quickly recovered his condescending demeanor and said, Amber is delicate. I heard jade is beneficial, so I let her wear it. What's the problem? I looked Amber up and down, scoffing disdainfully, and she's worthy? This is my family heirloom, dating back to the civil era. Its value is immeasurable. Even if I sold every organ in your bodies, it wouldn't be a fraction of its worth. Give it back now, don't make me ask twice. Hearing how valuable the bangle was, Amber first widened her eyes in disbelief, then subtly tried to hide her wrist behind her back. A flash of anger crossed Marcus's eyes, and he said, Grace, I advise you to face reality. Your family's company is on its last legs, but Hayes is going strong. Whether your company survives depends on my word. I'm already being generous by not making you kneel and wash Amber's feet. I just took a mere bangle, and you dare come here to demand it back? How petty and narrow-minded of you. Seeing his reaction, Amber also became defiant and told me, no matter how valuable something is, Marcus can buy it with a snap of his fingers. I didn't really think much of this bangle initially. But since you, miss, treasure it like it's priceless, then wait until I'm tired of wearing it, and you can come get it. Those two were mocking in unison. Seeing this, I didn't bother wasting my breath with them and directly told Amber, you're not giving it back, are you? With that, I called over the bodyguards I'd brought from home and sharply said, pin them both down. Seeing a group of bodyguards, both their faces instantly changed. Marcus asked me, Grace, what do you think you're doing? Watching them with their arms pinned behind their backs and their faces pressed to the carpet, I smiled. Didn't Amber say she didn't want to return my bangle? In that case, I'll cut off her hand. If she has no hand to wear it on, she'll naturally have to give my bangle back. Amber's face went white with fear, and Marcus snapped, you wouldn't dare. I knelt down, looking them both in the eye. Watch me. The bodyguards I'd brought were truly intimidating. Even if they acted tough, they were ultimately outmatched, and Amber reluctantly returned my bangle. Before leaving, I specifically instructed the bodyguards, take this bangle to be disinfected. Without damaging it, use every possible sterilization method, disinfecting it to the standards of a highly contagious disease. Amber was furious, asking me, Grace, what do you mean by that? I turned back, glancing at Amber with disgust. Obviously, I think you're filthy. Marcus cursed behind me, Grace, you just wait. I'll cut off all your family's cash flow right now, and we'll see if you still dare to act so recklessly. His words made me pause, and Marcus, thinking I was scared, said, "If you kneel down and apologize to Amber and me right now, maybe I'll still give you a way out. Otherwise, you and your damned father can look forward to living on the streets." 2. Although I had already seen Marcus's true colors, hearing him say those hateful words still sent an uncontrollable chill through me. In's words, I had no other faults except being easily swayed by good looks. When it came time to choose a husband at marriageable age, other young ladies considered whether it was a socially advantageous match. I, on the other hand, pulled out all the stops to find a handsome man. That's when Marcus's family troubles began. He was good-looking, and the vulnerability he carried after his family's sudden downfall immediately captivated me. I begged William to inject capital into Hayes, investing countless amounts of money and connections to slowly revive the company. Honestly, I never expected Marcus to do anything for me. I just wanted him to stay home, act as a trophy husband, and simply live our lives together. But as Hayes regained its strong footing, Marcus became more and more restless. Finally, William decisively made the call: rather than nurturing a viper in our bosom, it would be better to stage our family's bankruptcy as a test of Marcus's true intentions. If he had a conscience, then things between Marcus and me could be reconsidered. But if he had none, William's voice held a rare authority: a great favor can breed great resentment. If enterprises were to fully recover, it would become a real headache for our family. But I never expected that Marcus would eagerly reveal his true colors less than half a month before the act even began. Along with my disappointment, my heart was filled with intense resentment. Remembering's attitude, which wished to utterly destroy me and my father, my grip on the steering wheel tightened unconsciously. Realizing was about to cut off all our family's cash flow, I made an immediate decision and listed Amber's apartment online. I found it filthy. Just as I was about to finalize the purchase agreement with a prospective buyer, I went back to Amber's apartment one more time. "I'm selling this apartment. You have half a day to move out. If you dare to stay put, I'll have people move your things out for you." Amber gasped in surprise, and Marcus, standing behind her, quickly said, "Are you insane? Amber is living comfortably, why would you sell the apartment? Where will Amber live if you do this?" I scoffed. "What does where she lives have to do with M.E.? What, after marrying a leech who drains his in-laws' resources like you, am I also supposed to arrange housing for your mistress?" Marcus hated being called a kept man more than anything, and sure enough, he was enraged. He immediately called his secretary: "Give the order to halt all Sterling orders. And spread the word in Metro City, anyone who dares to collaborate with Sterling will be crossing Marcus." Marcus thought I would be scared or panic, but I deliberately said, "Oh, well, in that case, I absolutely have to sell this apartment. You don't want to move, do you? Then I'll gladly help you out." With that, the bodyguards who had appeared a few days prior reappeared. They not only threw Amber and Marcus out, but also ransacked the apartment. I had bought that apartment and never lived in it. The renovation only included the basic fixtures and finishes, and most of the furniture hadn't been added, but had lived there for half a year, and it already looked very much like a home. Marcus was generous with her. All the furniture was high quality and expensive, even the fresh flowers in vases were tulips flown in from France. Amber watched with eyes wide in fury as the bodyguard stormed into the apartment and began moving things out. "What are you doing?" "I'm calling the police. I'm reporting you for home invasion and robbery." I told Amber, "Stop spending all your time trying to please men. Use your brain a little. Since this is my apartment, of course, I have the right to dispose of the furniture." Marcus cursed furiously, "That's bullshit. I paid for all that furniture." I blew some dust off my fingernail, then glanced at Marcus with a sardonic smile. "You used our marital assets to support your mistress?" "Marcus, believe me, if I gather all the evidence and sue you in court, I can make sure you leave with absolutely nothing." The thought of Amber living in my apartment for months for free thoroughly disgusted me, so I directly told the bodyguards, "Take that furniture and sell it in the neighborhood. The money from the sale will cover this mistress's unpaid rent." No matter how upset Marcus and Amber were, the apartment was ultimately in my name, so whatever I did was perfectly legitimate. So they could only watch as the carefully chosen and added furniture was sold off piece by piece, and the money ended up in my pocket. Besides bringing bodyguards to physically restrain them, I also hired a Japanese organizing team. They were expensive, but their work was highly efficient. Every trace of Amber was removed from the apartment. When I sold all the furniture at a high price, the bodyguard, temporarily acting as auctioneer, pinched his nose and grudgingly picked up a tiny piece of fabric with just one finger. "Next item, intimate apparel worn by the mistress." Starting bid. 1 cent. The residents of the neighborhood who were watching the spectacle burst into laughter, mercilessly jeering. She's always strutting around the neighborhood like she's so grand, but turns out she's just the other woman living in the wife's property. TSK TSK. What a formidable wife. I'm impressed. Marcus's face twisted with fury. You're both women, how can you be so vicious? You're auctioning off Amber's intimate items, how will she ever face people again? I replied with an innocent tone, how she faces people has nothing to do with me. Besides, Amber, a receptionist at a small company, lived in my flat, which rents for $50,000 a month. Naturally, she can't afford the rent she owes me, so selling her things to recoup some losses is perfectly normal. Under everyone's gaze, Marcus's face turned ashen with rage, but he could only say, stop this ridiculous auction. I'll pay Amber's rent for you. I stopped Marcus and asked, all your money is our marital asset. If you pay the rent, isn't that just moving money from one pocket to another? I don't agree. Marcus gnashed his teeth in fury. Then what do you want to do? I pulled a prepared loan agreement directly from my bag. It clearly stated that Amber owed me rent and had to repay it within 1 year. Amber, of course, was extremely reluctant, but if she didn't sign the contract, she would have to continue watching me auction off her intimate apparel. And her intimate apparel filled an entire closet. After signed the agreement, Marcus, with a dark expression, asked me, you just said you were selling the furniture to cover Amber's rent, but now Amber has signed the contract agreeing to pay in installments. So, shouldn't you return the money from selling the furniture to me? I gave Marcus an innocent look, bringing the conversation back to square one. What does my selling furniture from a property in my name have to do with you? 3. Dealing with Marcus and Amber had taken up a lot of my time recently. So much so that when I went to represent the company at the industry summit, I hadn't done my homework to see who would be there. And so, I inevitably saw that shameless pair, Marcus and Amber. When saw me, he sneered, Sterling is about to collapse, what are you doing here? Aren't you ashamed? Amber covered her mouth and chuckled, Sterling is on its last legs. Since Grace is willing to embarrass herself, who are we to stop her? I gave Amber a faint smile and said, the first payment date is approaching. If can't repay the rent she owes me on time, I'll show you what it really means to be on its last legs. Then, I turned to Marcus and said, before, if anyone associated with you at social events, it was out of respect for my family. Now that my family is down and out, you should be careful. You might go around with a glass, proposing toasts, only for people to ask the server for a napkin rather than associate with you. Recalling Enterprise's destitution when it first went bankrupt, Marcus gripped his wine glass tightly, practically gritting out his words, however destitute Hayes was, that's all in the past now, Grace. Instead of dredging up OL. D news, you should think about your own future. After all, what you're talking about is your future. No sooner had Marcus finished speaking than Taylor, the organizer of the industry summit, arrived. Seeing him, Marcus immediately abandoned his squabble with me, quickly straightened his collar, and stepped forward to greet Taylor. Hello, Mr. Taylor, but didn't even glance at Marcus. He spoke directly to me. Grace, why did you come alone? Where's William? Marcus was left standing ignored, his face extremely displeased. I smiled subtly and said, William hasn't been feeling well recently, so he's resting at home. Taylor's tone was regretful, I haven't seen him in a long time. Grace, please tell him for me that next time I invite him fishing, he can't stand me up again. I told Taylor, I will. Seeing me converse with Taylor, Amber actually jumped in and said, Mr. Taylor, you're a smart man. You should know who is suitable to associate with and who isn't. Sterling is on its last legs and about to go bankrupt. What's the point of you associating with Grace? Hearing this, Taylor instinctively frowned. Sterling was going bankrupt? What kind of nonsense was this? But he couldn't be bothered to argue with a fool. He said directly, and who are you? If I'm not mistaken, I didn't invite you to this industry summit. Miss, please leave the premises immediately and don't disrupt the order of our event. Amber was instantly mortified. Seeing this, Marcus quickly shielded her and said to Taylor, Mr. Taylor, Amber isn't an uninvited guest, she's with me. Marcus had thought that with Hayes back on the rise, Taylor would at least show him some respect. To his surprise, Taylor bluntly said, I only invited you out of respect for Grace. What right do you have to bring anyone in? Taylor had heard about Marcus's misbehavior and immediately reprimanded him. This is an industry summit, a place for companies to exchange technology and share insights. Who allowed you to bring an unpresentable mistress here? What, do you take this place for a flea market? Marcus was choking with rage at the scolding, but he dared not offend Taylor, so he could only say, "Amber isn't a mistress, she." Before could formulate an excuse, Taylor asked, "Then what is she? Is she a technical specialist or a project director?" Marcus was stumped. "She." Taylor impatiently waved his hand, "If she's neither, then get her out of here immediately. I'm too old to endure this petty drama." After was ignominiously sent away, Marcus, seizing the moment when no one was around, pulled me into a corner and growled, "What did you tell Mr. Taylor? Why is he treating me like this?" I pulled away from Marcus's hand and said, "Marcus, you've gotten too used to the good life. Have you forgotten that without my family, this is exactly where you'd be?" Marcus snapped angrily, "You." Then, he suddenly had an epiphany, "Ha, I get it now. No wonder your family is nearly finished, yet that old man Taylor is still so chummy with you. All this time, you've been having an affair with him, that's why he's so biased towards you, ack." Marcus hadn't even finished his sentence when I slapped him hard across the face. "If I hear you spew such filth again, don't blame me for being unkind." Marcus had originally thought that since he was back on his feet, his reappearance would make him the center of attention, just like before. But the truth was, the shrewd operators in the business world saw Marcus and I leave separately, and not a single person associated with him. Marcus arrived full of self-satisfaction, but after being terribly snubbed, he slunk away. 4. This incident must have truly wounded his fragile pride. Soon after I returned to the office, my secretary told me, "Miss Hayes just gave us an ultimatum, demanding that we pay his breach of contract penalty within half a month, or they'll sue everyone in our company until we're all in prison." Marcus's so-called ultimatum was Act 2. I just bait that William and I had deliberately thrown out. Sterling and Hayes had a close relationship over the years. When enterprises went bankrupt, Sterling placed order after order for its stockpiled goods. In last month's order, William deliberately revealed a flaw, feigning a major strategic misstep. He failed to pay Hayes on time for the second order's final payment, leaving Marcus an obvious mistake to seize upon. And indeed took the bait. As soon as he discovered our breach of contract, he didn't wait a moment, filing a lawsuit directly against us in court and demanding the maximum possible breach of contract penalty. Listening to the secretary's report, I didn't even raise an eyebrow. I had long anticipated that a cornered Marcus would make such a move. "Understood. You can go now." No sooner had the secretary closed the office door than Marcus's call came through. "Grace, you must have received the court summons by now, right?" I replied, "Yes, I did. What about it?" Marcus was surprised by my calm reaction. "What about it? Huh, Grace, let me tell you, if you can't come up with 300 million within half a month, you and your decrepit old father can look forward to living on the streets." I didn't want to waste my breath on Marcus, so I just hung up. Turning, I immediately called my attorney. "Yes, I want Amber to pay me all the rent she owes me right now, or I'll sue her." My attorney was always highly efficient. Within an hour, Marcus and Amber were aggressively blocking my office doorway. "What do you mean, all of a sudden you're demanding rent money from Amber?" When I forced Amber to sign the agreement, I had deliberately highlighted the key clauses, one by one, blocking all possible avenues for Marcus to pay Amber's debt. Amber had no choice but to bite the bullet and repay the hundreds of thousands in rent she owed me herself. She was seething with resentment. "When I signed the contract, didn't it say I could pay in installments? Now you're demanding I pay everything back at once? I can sue you." I smiled, casually pulled out the agreement Amber had signed from my folder, and circled a line with my pen cap. "It says right here that if I, your creditor, encounter any urgent matter, you must immediately and unconditionally pay me all outstanding debts in full." Amber's face went pale, and Marcus, enraged, simply cursed, "You did this on purpose?" I shrugged. "Does it matter if I did it on purpose? Your court summons just arrived. I now have plenty of evidence to prove I've encountered financial difficulties. If Amber doesn't pay, it will lead to enforced collection." Amber was on the verge of tears. "Marcus, look." Marcus, still not giving up, snatched the agreement from my hand and scrutinized it repeatedly. Finally, he gritted his teeth and said to Amber, "Amber, don't worry. Whether you pay these few $100,000 in rent or not, Grace won't be able to afford my breach of contract penalty. So, just bear with it for a few days. Once I put Grace behind bars, I'll definitely find a way to get you out." Amber was now completely frantic. "Marcus, you must have a plan, right? Please tell me you do. I'm still young. If I go to prison now, what will become of me?" But no matter how Amber pleaded, Marcus refused to let me off the hook for her sake. On the day Amber faced enforced collection and was thrown into prison, I even made a point to go see her. Through the iron bars, Amber, clad in an orange jumpsuit, gritted her teeth and said to me, "Grace, you think you've won, don't you? Let me tell you, Marcus will get me out in 2 weeks at most, and your fate will be 100 times worse than mine." I smiled at Amber and said, "Don't be delusional. Unless you've served your full sentence, you won't be seeing that day." Amber's face changed. "What do you mean?" I slowly began. "My family's troubles were a setup specifically designed for Marcus from the start, luring him right into the trap. When 2 weeks are up, forget saving you, Marcus probably won't even be able to save himself." Amber looked as if she wanted to crawl through the iron bars. "What do you mean? Tell me. What are you going to do to Marcus? Tell me." Perhaps sensing that she would be in prison for a long time, Amber lost all her previous arrogance, her voice filled with despair. "I need to make a call. I need to call someone outside." I asked the nearby guard, "Here, how often can inmates make outside calls?" The guard told me, once or twice a month, with each call lasting 5 to 10 minutes. The last call was just yesterday. The next one won't be for another 2 weeks. I quickly calculated in my head. By the time Amber finally got her chance to inform Marcus of this crucial news, Marcus would probably have already fallen. 5. For a while now, Marcus had been showing up in front of me from time to time. His head was full of grand delusions of taking control of Sterling after ruining William and me. On the very last day of the breach of contract penalty deadline, Marcus arrived at Sterling early in the morning with a whole entourage of attorneys, ready to settle accounts. One of the attorneys remarked, "I see everything operating very smoothly within Sterling. They just signed a $100 million deal. They don't look like they're going bankrupt at all." Exactly. Since demanded a $300 million breach of contract penalty, I haven't seen Grace panic once. Is there something else going on? Marcus paused, then scolded the attorneys behind him. "What nonsense are you spewing? Is this your professional conduct as attorneys?" In truth, it wasn't surprising that the other attorneys had doubts. Since last night, Marcus had harbored a vague sense of foreboding, as if something major was about to happen. But then he reconsidered. Ever since he sued my family and demanded exorbitant compensation, William hadn't appeared at the company again. He probably suffered some ailment from anger after the shock and was now lying in some hospital. With that thought, Marcus felt a lot calmer. As he strode confidently towards the conference room, he didn't forget to turn back and say, "Sterling's breach of contract is undeniable. Today will be a very straightforward battle, none of you need to worry." Marcus's confidence didn't last long. When he saw William sitting at the head of the conference table, his steps abruptly halted, and he instinctively cried out, "William?" William snorted and said, "Don't call me William. I don't have a son-in-law like you. Aren't you here to demand a breach of contract penalty from me and send me to prison? In that case, let's get this over with quickly." Marcus's heart suddenly pounded with panic. He asked, "William, why are you here today? Shouldn't you be at?" William said, "What? Did you really think I was sick with anger because of you? After all these years, what storms haven't I weathered? How could I possibly be afraid of a mere?" After seeing William, Marcus's fleeting confidence was shattered. The attorneys behind him whispered amongst themselves, "Oh no, I have a bad feeling about this." I refilled William's teacup before asking, "Marcus, I'll ask you one last time, do you really want to sue William and me and send us both to prison?" I met his gaze across the table. Marcus finally gritted his teeth and said, "Stop talking nonsense. Breaching a contract means paying up, it's only right." Marcus's answer didn't surprise me in the slightest. I told him, "Before we discuss the breach of contract penalty, sign this first." I handed him an agreement. 5 words prominently displayed, "Divorce agreement." Marcus's face instantly changed. He asked me, "Grace, what is the meaning of this?" I replied in a flat tone, "After all we've been through as a couple, what's the point in dragging this out further? It's better to sort out everything before discussing the breach of contract penalty, isn't it?" Marcus stared intently at the divorce settlement agreement, hovering over the signature line for a long time, hesitant to put pen to paper. I smiled and asked Marcus, "What's wrong? You're not having second thoughts about me, are you?" Marcus flared up, immediately retorting, "Don't flatter yourself. How could I possibly miss you?" With that, Marcus handed the agreement to the attorneys behind him, saying, "This time, go over every single clause carefully. Don't let Grace leave any more loopholes for me to fall into." The team of attorneys circulated the document for a full half-hour before Thompson, the lead attorney, cautiously stated, "There are no traps or linguistic loopholes within it. This agreement is extremely clear regarding both asset division and legal handover. In other words, if Grace and William genuinely go to prison, you won't be affected in any way. Marcus looked up, glancing at me, and said, Grace, this time you've actually been considerate. With that, he gritted his teeth and signed his name on the blank line. Once everything was settled, I specifically told my secretary to collect the agreement. William saw this and asked, Aren't we here to discuss the breach of contract? Let's begin. 6. The lead attorney immediately began, regarding your company's deliberate breach of contract during our collaboration. He hadn't finished speaking when I directly interrupted him. Attorney, I think you've got it wrong. The party that breached the contract during this collaboration isn't Sterling, it's Marcus. Marcus immediately retorted, How is that possible? Grace, are you losing your mind because you don't want to pay? You're the one who didn't pay the final installment on time, not me. I opened the prepared presentation slides, and the evidence, listed item by item, appeared before everyone. The contract clearly stated beforehand that Hayes' supply to Sterling must first ensure quality and quantity. However, our spot checks on the quality of Hayes' past shipments to Sterling revealed an average pass rate below 50%, while our contract specified that your supplied goods must have a pass rate of 95% or higher. Otherwise, we reserve the right to refuse final payment. Furthermore, one batch of goods supplied by Hayes to our company had a pass rate of less than 30%. Therefore, our company has the right to sue your party for breach of contract. Marcus staggered back 2 steps in disbelief. How is this possible? I told Marcus, we do indeed have a matter concerning a breach of contract penalty to discuss today. It's just that the one who needs to pay isn't me, it's you. Marcus completely panicked. He stumbled to look at the presentation slides, and when he clearly saw that the quality inspection report I presented was indeed an official report from a certified testing lab, he froze. His legs gave out, and he simply collapsed to the floor, muttering, How is this possible? How is this possible? I walked over to Marcus and told him, word for word, when enterprises went bankrupt, I begged William to inject capital, allowing Hayes to flourish to this day. But instead of being grateful, you blamed me for people calling you a leech. Marcus instinctively retorted, That's not true. It's because William was too overbearing, I couldn't stand him. I continued, publicly, William gave his all to support and save Hayes from ruin. Privately, when Hayes faced trouble, you were just a playboy living a life of indulgence. If hadn't treated you like his own son all these years, teaching you everything hand in hand, how would you have ever had the chance to turn on us? A flicker of bewilderment crossed Marcus's eyes. What my family did for you was practically giving you a second chance at life. But when our family faced trouble, you immediately chose to kick us while we're down. Ending up in this situation now is your just desserts. Just then, the police pushed the door open and entered directly from outside. Mr. Marcus, please come with us. Only then did Marcus realize fear. He grabbed my leg and said, Grace, I was wrong, I truly was. I was awful before, I was blinded by greed to treat you this way. Please, say something to the police. Don't let them lock me up, I beg you. I crouched down, looking at Marcus, who was like a beaten dog, and said softly, You're not wrong, you're just scared. 7. The one who had to bear the exorbitant breach of contract penalty shifted from my family to Marcus. But no matter how much the Hayes family tried to scrape together, they couldn't come up with $300 million. I heard Marcus was nearly going mad inside, desperately wanting to come out and see me. He even told the guards watching him that if they would let him out to meet me, he would pay them a $200,000 bonus afterward. Each of his foolish acts reached my ears, one by one. The more gossip I heard, the more energized I felt. Since couldn't pay the breach of contract penalty, he had no choice but to use his shares as collateral. Over the years, Hayes, under his tireless efforts, had developed quite well. When, still in prison, heard that I had actually replaced him as the head of Hayes, he nearly lost his mind. He begged the guards every day to let him see me. Today, I happened to have some free time, so it was the perfect opportunity to come here and settle things. Marcus hadn't been eating or sleeping well these past few days. His mind was consumed with how to get out, and not only did he look a decade older, but he even had a few strands of white hair appearing on his head. Grace, I was wrong, truly wrong. I promise you, if you just let me out, I'll stay home and behave myself, never getting involved with that bitch Amber again, okay? Please? Finally seeing me, Marcus pleaded desperately, his voice trembling with emotion, and it doesn't matter if Hayes takes your name, it doesn't matter if Hayes is merged into Sterling, just let me out, and I won't meddle in calm Penny affairs at all. You can do whatever you want, please? As he spoke, growing more agitated, Marcus lunged forward, a foul odor emanating from him. I recoiled a step, disgusted, and said, I'm not here to listen to that. Marcus lunged forward again. The fact that you'd come to see me proves you've softened, you. I retreated to a safe distance before speaking. I only came to tell you one thing. William's investment failure was actually fake, from beginning to end. Marcus froze, gripping the bars tightly with both hands. What did you say? I told Marcus, it was William who realized something was off about you a long time ago. We set up this trap to see if you'd fall for it. But now, I shrugged and said, everyone has to take responsibility for their own actions. Since you chose this path yourself, you'll have to see it through, even if you cry yourself to death. After delivering that final, crushing blow to Marcus, I felt a significant sense of relief and turned to walk out of the prison. Behind me, Marcus's heartbroken wails echoed, as he desperately tried to grab me, only to be dragged back by the guards like a beaten dog. After leaving the prison, William called me, chuckling, Grace, Dad's introduced a few more promising young men to you. Would you like to meet them? I forced a bitter smile. Dad, don't tease me. After everything with Marcus, I was truly afraid. After all, men are just a distraction to my ambitions. Thank you for watching today's story. If you enjoyed this video, please like it and share it with your friends. We look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comments section. Feel free to share your perspectives, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more exciting stories. See you next time.